Succession. Season 1 began Logan Roy's birthday. The plan had been to raise Kendall to CEO, but in the eyes of Logan, Kendall made a number of mistakes, such as coming to Logan's birthday party before closing a deal with Walter. As a result, Logan made the decision to stay on for a few more years. Logan fired Frank and raised Roman to COO, and he also unsuccessfully tried to get Shiv to leave politics and rejoin the company. In other words, Logan began to pit 3 of his 4 children against each other. The premiere episode ended with Logan hospitalized from a stroke and the shark smelled blood. "You just invited me into the chicken coop, and without daddy around to protect you, I'm going to beat you all one by fucking one." Episode 2 centered on his kids, debating who would take the reins of the company. Jerry declined Roman's proposal that she temporarily lead the ship, and the kids eventually agreed that Kendall and Roman would lead as CEO and COO, respectively. Only then did Jerry tell Kendall that Waysauer Royco had a secret debt problem. If the company's stock fell below 130, ICBC could demand a full repayment. "You're making it quite fucking difficult to savor this moment, Jerry. Sorry about that. Don't jump." In order to freeway star Roy Cove, ICBC Kettle made a deal with his private equity buddy Stewie. As part of the deal, Stewie got shares of stock as well as a seat on the board. That left the family with 36% of the shares, effective control of the company, and a war chest of new capital to make moves. That night, Kendall celebrated with Rava, the mother of his children. Unfortunately, when morning came, she told him that she was still going through with the divorce. When Kendall visited Logan for the first time, Logan said this about the private equity deal: "Fucking idiot." Logan unexpectedly showed up at the office and undermined Kendall's leadership in front of Stewie. Logan then rehired Frank as Roman's advisor and told Roman to do whatever Frank said. Those moves were Logan's way of taking back control of the company. Unfortunately, Logan didn't yet have control of his own mind and body, evidenced by the fact that he urinated on the floor of Kendall's office. Logan was not supposed to attend the Reckoning Ball, but he went there, and he further undermined Kendall by giving a speech in place of Kendall. During that speech, Logan took a subtle shot at Ken by slowly saying that someone had taken advantage of his hospitalization. But then he pivoted and joked that Tom had seized the opportunity to ask for Shit's hand in marriage while he was hospitalized. Logan finished his speech by complimenting his son Kendall most of all, and then he made a big announcement. "I'm back." Episode 5 took place on Thanksgiving. Tom sent Greg to the MP office in order to shred documents related to past scandals on cruises, and Kendall and Frank discussed a vote of no confidence against Logan as CEO. Roman was their 3rd vote, so they needed 3 more. Logan and his older brother Ewan got into a fight at Thanksgiving, so Kendall tried to win him over. But Ewan was not impressed, reminding Kendall that above all else, Logan was his brother. However, they did win over Jerry. After dinner, Logan struggled during a memory game, and he assaulted Kendall's son when the boy called him out on being a loser. "I've spoken to Frank, and I've seen all I need to say." Unfortunately, Jerry did not have a vote, so they still needed 3 more people. Kendall spoke to Asha and Stewie, and Roman spoke to Lawrence. That would have been enough, even if Alonia voted no. But Kendall panicked and flew out to Long Island to secure her vote anyway. Although he did get her vote, he lost 2 of the process. Because he didn't get back to the city in time for the board meeting, Kendall had to dial in as he ran up to the office, and that weakened his position. So both Stewie and Lawrence abstained. Frank was the first to raise his hand, Asha raised hers, and Alona called in and said yes as well. That gave them 4 yeses. 3 of the old guard voted in favor of Logan, and Ewan showed up and also supported him, bringing the tally to 4-4 with just 1 to go. As Kendall rode up the elevator, Roman began to raise his arm to a Logan, who should not have even been in the room, pressured Roman to vote no. Logan immediately fired the yes voters, and Kendall filed a lawsuit. In response, Logan's news network ran a story about Kendall possibly being back on drugs. That was a very low blow, since Kendall had been clean for 3 years. In order to rebrand his family image, Logan staged a therapy retreat down at Connor's place in Santa Fe. His goal was to get a nice family photo. In other words, it was a publicity stunt. Kendall went down to Santa Fe but stopped off at a dive bar, after which he went back to some random local's place and relapsed. That led to one of the more touching moments of the season. Although Kendall had been giving Roman this silent treatment for having bailed on the vote, he called Roman while he was partying. And Roman immediately found out where he was and picked him up. "Hey man, your friend sucks." "That's my brother. He's actually, you know what? He's okay. Kendall was not the only person to stray off the path in Santa. Theben had helped Joyce Miller become a senator. But Chauvin's friend, Nate, convinced her to switch over to Senator Gil Evis for his run to become president, despite the fact that Evis and her father hated each other. As a result, Logan called both Kendall and Shiv traitors, and the family retreat went up in flames. A month later, the boys went out for Tom's bachelor party. Tom hooked up with a girl named Tabitha, while Chauvin hooked up with Nate. Meanwhile, Kendall reconnected with Stewie and found out that Stewie's private equity firm that had bought into Worcester was actually owned by one of his father's enemies, a man named Sandy Furness. The three of them began to discuss a hostile takeover. The penultimate episode took place in England the night before Chauvin's wedding, and there was a lot of tension. First off, Roman did Roman things by inviting Tom's bachelor party fling as his date. Tom began to suspect that Chauvin was cheating on him with Nate, and she coerced him into giving her the dirty laundry related to cruises that night. Despite their ongoing differences, Kendall, Chauvin, and Roman went and hung out at a spot where they used to chill at as children. It was arguably the most heartwarming scene of the season. The following morning, Greg tried to warn Tom that Shiv was having an affair, but Tom refused to hear it. Shiv then leveraged her new insight into the scandals to get Logan and the senator to agree to back off of each other. Lastly, Stewie told Kendall that they were accelerating the timing of the takeover. They'll never retreat. It'll be hostile, hostile, hostile. The finale opened with Kendall delivering Logan the buyout deal, and Logan blew up. Not long after, Roman stepped into a bathroom to watch a satellite launch that he had been heading, and it blew up. When Logan told Kendall's siblings what he was doing, they all attacked him, so Kendall went around looking for party favors. In the process of doing so, Greg told Kendall that he had secretly made copies of some of the scandal documents. After the wedding, Shiv finally came clean about Nate and how she didn't want to have a monogamous marriage going forward. Although Tom pretended to agree, he was heartbroken. So he went and found Nate, threatened him, and kicked him out. Earlier in the night, Logan had kicked out one of the servers, and Greg had told Kendall that the kid might have some drugs on their way. The kid grabbed the steering wheel and sent them off the road in order to avoid hitting a deer. It's worth noting that Kendall dove down twice in an attempt to save the kid. But ultimately he failed, and when he got home, he found out that he didn't have his room card. Kendall cleaned himself up and danced the night away with his family. But the caterer's body was found, and so was Kendall's room card. Long story short, Kendall had intended on making move that day in terms of the takeover, but his father had already made some calls to frame the dead caterer as a thief, which stolen from Kendall's room. "You're my boy. You're my number one boy,"